I'd like to introduce you to Seth and Darla Curtis, one of the families that came up through our church that we've had the opportunity to examine and then commissioned a full-time Christian ministry. The mission of our church is to glorify God by winning people to Jesus Christ and equipping them to be more faithful disciples. And Seth and Darla have been on the front lines of that mission in the important country of the Congo. We're so excited about what the Lord has done in their lives and ministries these past 10 years. And we're really looking forward to what He's going to do in the future. That's why our church is really excited about continuing to support them wholeheartedly. We'd encourage you to consider doing the same.
Well, in 2005, we started narrowing down our choices for a target city, and ultimately we decided on the city of Lubumbashi. It's the second largest city in Congo after the capital city, Kinshasa. It's got a population density similar to Detroit. And in the end, there were really three main factors that made the decision for us, but a fourth ingredient that made it unequivocally our first choice. Well, first of all, it was a crossroads city. Every single northern road in the country comes down through it. So there's a lot going on in Lubumbashi. It's a destination city. People are drawn to it. Secondly, it was a university town. So the next generation of influential businessmen, government officials in town, they're being groomed right there. Then thirdly, even though numerically it's a pretty large city, functionally on the ground when you're there, it has that small town feel, and that really makes relationship building a lot easier.
In any ministry setting, it's easy to get into the routine of pouring your heart and life and your energy into the lives of those around you that you're trying to minister to, and oftentimes to not have that reciprocated. But it's been encouraging to my wife and I to see Seth and Darla really be able to develop true friendships, friendships where they can just interact and live life together and enjoy the ministry together.
So these were the first three factors that even by themselves made Lubumbashi a very desirable location from a ministerial perspective, but the main reason we're so excited about the city of Lubumbashi is that it has a growing middle-class sector. And it's really this middle class who are in our crosshairs as we seek to accomplish some of the strategic ministry goals that we've set for these next few years. So from a cultural perspective, the middle class really has a natural influence over the lower class because of their rank in society. But really they also have a limited influence over a certain sector of the upper class who have come to depend on them as business owners and service providers in town. And it's really this element of influence that is so interesting to us, and it's the reason why we're targeting the middle class in Congo.
Well, my family and I were able to get out to Congo and visit Seth and Darla and the boys not too long ago. And one of the things that struck me right away was that it's in style to be religious or to go to church. But one of the things that also comes with that is just a very shallow approach to biblical truth. And I think one of the exciting things for us to see in Seth and Darla's ministry out there is that they are building their ministry around the idea of digging deep into the Word. And they're attracting people to their ministry that are excited about getting to the meat of the Word, and they're no longer satisfied with the superficial nature of what their culture has accepted as a religious practice or belief in God.
If you followed our ministry over the years, you probably know what we're talking about. But if you've just joined the conversation, then you may need a little bit of an explanation about the African class system. During our first term in Congo, we learned that the class system is ever present, just under the surface of daily life. And it was really while pastoring in a lower class ministry at the time that we saw how influence really always trickles downwards. In other words, those who are in the lower class will really have very little opportunity to influence those higher than them in the class system. It was kind of a difficult dynamic for us to understand at first. I mean, we really wanted to be able to make disciples who could go into all parts of Congo, be reaching their own people long after we as missionaries had gone. But the reality was most likely that the lower class people that we were working with at the time would have very little influence to impact those in the middle class or those in the upper class, let alone Congo as a whole. So this led us to begin kind of reevaluating our long-term ministry plans. I mean, we really needed to strongly consider this dynamic if we hope to see nationals reaching nationals within the class system. Congo needs strong national leaders. It needs Christ-like men and women who understand the sovereignty of God, who understand the sufficiency of the Scriptures, and also who have influence within their sector of society. We need men and women who can be reaching their own people in relevant and meaningful ways, and who are situated with the means to go beyond just reaching their own neighborhoods or just reaching their own communities, to actually begin reaching an entire country from a grassroots level, from within their own cultural mindset, even in a way that we as missionaries would never be able to do. So these are some of our goals from a philosophy of ministry standpoint. In 2006, a local businessman and his wife approached us and asked if we would consider having an English-speaking service in town. Shortly after that, we began meeting with a small group in their home, and it was really during this time that we realized that one of the ways of discovering those who have or who will have influence in town is to reach out to English-speaking businessmen and women. It's really an interesting concept because Congo isn't an English-speaking country, but our region is directly connected by road to all of the English-speaking countries in southern Africa. So it becomes a helpful language for many Congolese nationals to learn, especially if they hope to be able to broaden their potential for success from a business perspective. English is really only one of the common languages that we share with those in the group that God has allowed us to minister to. Over this past term, we've had roughly 13 different languages represented in our group alone.
If there's any way that I could describe this past term from what I've seen, I would say that the Curtises have laid a very strong foundation for future ministry in Lubumbashi. My vision for our church family in this coming term is that we would really take advantage of coming alongside Seth and Darla in ways that we haven't before, to actually be on the ground with their people, working alongside their congregation, and to just really build that relationship like never before.
The way we see it, those that God brings across our paths are a bridge into the lives of other people within their circles of influence. And as they're equipped and given opportunities to serve, our people will be able to span social barriers and language barriers and cultural barriers that we as missionaries will never be able to cross. And we're just really excited about what God has in store for this next chapter of ministry in Congo.